hip adductor muscles. Adductor magnus, adductor longus, adductor brevis, pectineus, gracilis. All 5 of those muscles have their origin on the innominate. Now, probably most of you have never heard the word innominate, but in Gray's Anatomy, they don't have the word hip bone. It's called the innominate. Innominate hip bone is formed by the ilium, ischium in the back, pubis in the front. Those 3 bones come together and form the acetabulum, the socket. The ilium forms just a little bit more than 2/5. The ischium slightly less than 2/5. The pubis makes 1/5. So that's the origin of these hip adductors. They insert on the femur. Adductor magnus goes all the way down to the adductor tubercle. Adductor longus tends about the middle 1/2 of the femur. Adductor brevis and pectineus attach up in the proximal portion, way up in here. And gracilis attaches to the medial condyle of the tibia. Say grace before tea, okay? I've said that in class, right? So if you know the origin and you know the insertion and the muscle contracts concentrically, you should be able to figure out the actions. They are adductors, right? Second, they are hip flexors. They're not the primary hip flexors, that's psoas major iliacus, but they're hip flexors and they're medial rotators. So the purpose of the groin wrap is to provide compression and support to those injured muscles. But the other important part of the groin wrap is to prevent the opposite motions of abduction, extension, external rotation. Because those motions are going to do what to the adductors? If I do that, what am I doing to these muscles?
Contracting.
I'm stretching. Think that's going to hurt? And if they're injured? So we want to prevent those motions. The actions are adduction, flexion, internal rotation. The opposites, abduction, external rotation, and extension, are going to stretch those muscles. So we want to prevent that. So you can stand here in the front, put your right foot up on the stool. Now actually, you face on this side, face me this way. So now she's in flexion, and it's going to be harder to go into extension, right? I'm going to limit that. Second thing, I want you to immediately rotate your foot. Okay, so it's going to be harder to externally rotate. Now it would be ideal to bring her opposite leg across the midline, but then I couldn't put the wrap between her legs and then around her hip as easily. So then I'm going to ask the athlete, where does it hurt? And let's say she points to mid-thigh. The most common adductor muscle strain is adductor longus. So when you abduct your leg out to the side, the tendon that pops out in the groin is adductor longus. So the next thing, I'm going to anchor the wrap onto her leg. Now, these are elastic wraps, so it means they stretch. So if I just wrap this around her leg and didn't take any of the stretch out, I really haven't accomplished anything because it goes a whole lot more, right, than just that. Now these have been washed a lot of times, so they've even lost some of their elasticity. But I'm going to anchor, and here's the key thing. I'm going to start between her legs. So if I go between her legs, and then I'm coming lateral, when I come around, I'm pulling her into adduction and medial rotation. If I started going that way, when I come through her legs, I'd be pulling her into abduction, external rotation, which is not what I want to do. So I'm going to anchor onto her leg and slowly spiral up the leg. You take most of the stretch out, but not all the stretch, and come up to about the gluteal crease. Then I'm going to go across her body above the iliac crest, right? You got to be above the iliac crest. And then I'm going to come down along the groin area and wrap around her leg. Again, spiral up, taking most of the stretch out, but not all of it. And I'm going to go around her body again. and you finally end up wherever you end. So I ended up there. So you can put your finger right there and hold that. Most athletic trainers would then get a roll of tape and do one figure eight of tape over top of that. Okay? So you can take that off, you're done.